Senator Bernie Sanders is 83 years old, and he's lived through some pretty significant historical events. I think that's fair to say. In fact, he was born just months before the attack on Pearl Harbor. He was born in September. It happened in December, so he was a 2-month-old. He lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis when the Soviet Union and the United States were on the brink of nuclear war. And he lived through September 11th, those horrific terrorist attacks on our country. But Senator Sanders says right now, under President Trump, is the most terrifying time of his life.
These are, the scariest times in my lifetime. That's all. I mean, I think that's objectively the truth. He is now trying to end what the founding fathers were pretty smart about, creating a form of government where there were checks and balances, a legislative body, an executive body, and a judiciary. So he is moving aggressively in all of these areas. Yeah, there was gravity in my voice. This is a scary moment.
I love that he can call that objectively true with a serious face, as if it's an objectively truthful statement to say, this is scarier than a time when thousands of Americans died in terrorist attack. Laura, when I look at this, there's hyperbole, and politicians use that a lot, and then there's insanity. And I would venture to say this is the latter.
This is less hyperbolic, pretty crazy. That's true. What was really scary, I think, for a lot of us, Kaylee, was to live through the past 4 years and now come out on the other side and have our fears confirmed that we really don't know who was in charge of this country. We just found out that Joe Biden, apparently they were using an auto pen to sign most of the documents, that had his signature on it, save for the one, of course, whenever he removed himself from running for president. It's very, very interesting there. That was very scary. The fact that we had someone in office who the rest of the world looked at, saw our weakness as a country. And I mean, we are very lucky. Nothing terrible happened here in the United States of America, that our adversaries did not take advantage of us the way they probably could have done. That was terrifying. But this is absolutely crazy. What President Trump is trying to do is set this country on the right path, make sure that the 4 years he spends in office are 4 years that we are rectifying the damage of Bernie Sanders' party that he ran for president for, the Democrat Party. They have taken this country in such a bad direction. We got 4 years to fix it. That's what President Trump is trying to do.
That's exactly right. And, I think about the other side of the aisle, and I think about the voice they're putting forward. They put forward Elissa Slotkin for the response to President Trump. She's a so-called moderate. She's someone who outperformed Kamala by a full percentage point in 28 of 83 counties in Michigan. So she's supposed to be the moderate voice. Well, let's bring in the great communicator of the Democratic Party.
We're about to turn 250 years old, right? We're still pretty young for a country. These are our like our angry teenage years, right? We are going through this push and pull where we're happy, we're sad, we want this, we want that. And what do you do when you have a teenager who's threatening themselves and others? You just try to get them through this period alive so that their brain can fully form and you can come back to kind of what a country.
Talking about Trump?
No, I'm talking about our country. We're pendulum swinging.
So brains are not fully formed. Those who voted for Trump are analogous, it sounds like what she's saying, to teenagers without fully formed brains. Harris, want to bring up the popular vote for President Trump, 77 million plus voters. I don't think it's a wise statement to kind of assert they're teenagers without fully formed brains.
Well, on behalf of all of the alphas out there, like my youngest, don't degrade the teenagers. They're the wave of the future, and she's on her way out politically. She must be. And look, when you talk about scary moments, that should be frightening to anybody in the Democratic Party, that the ideas are being stifled by this kind of stuff. By I don't know, it's like an endless just surge of I'm angry and I just have to use all my words, but they don't make any sense. And I'm even angry at teenagers and this and this and that. Where are the ideas from this party? Where are the things that are worth fighting for if they have a plan? I just don't know. And by the way, I'd argue that one of the scariest points for Bernie Sanders had to be when they picked Hillary Clinton over him. I mean, the party kept him down. Yep. He had so much popularity. And at that convention, at the DNC convention in Philly that year, I remember standing on the floor. He was not far from me, he and his wife, and he looked to be really sad. They didn't choose him. You're not their flavor. And you think they are, you think he's their flavor now? Yeah. No. I mean, I think the end of your political career, arguably wanting to be president, that's pretty darn scary.
It is. Here's something that it's scary to some, maybe, certainly not to me. We no longer have Rosie O'Donnell in the country. Watch this.
Aw.
I'm here in Ireland, and it's beautiful and warm, not physically, it's actually quite cold. Moved here on January 15th, and it's been pretty wonderful. I'm in the process of getting my Irish citizenship, as I have Irish grandparents. When, it is safe for all citizens to have equal rights there in America, that's when we will consider coming back.
I mean, Emily, to quote a great famous line from a presidential primary debate, only Rosie O'Donnell.
Well, I just think it's so rich to see her. First, I love Ireland. Who doesn't? But if you're talking about conservative governments, then that government represents an extremely conservative system. So I'm not sure what she talks about safety, what she's talking about. And that's just besides the obvious, where when you talk about businesses, too, who just left Ireland back for the United States, all the American businesses that were driven there under the prior administration. And going back to the rich concept of these individuals who are speaking these points of view, Bernie Sanders talked about the terrifying element being based on the fact of the power of the oligarchy. This is someone who himself resides firmly within the top 1% of this country. And I think that's the failure that we're seeing, the failure to see that it's actually restoration of the power to the people. This is actually, for the first time, a dismantling of that incredible tumor, high-wielding beast of a central government, enabling the Americans to feel their votes are heard again, to feel that their voices actually matter and have an impact. So that's what's the most terrifying to them. And when you get to that root, then all it does is show exactly what they're afraid of, which is the power being wrested away from them and back to the hands of the American people.
By the way, for Rosie O'Donnell's information, we have a great Trump property in Ireland.
Right.
Yeah, it's Trump Dubag. So congratulations, Rosie. You didn't actually get away from Donald Trump.
So the Irish Prime Minister is in the White House right now.
Yeah.
So maybe the Irish Prime Minister right now.
Maybe Trump could ask the Irish Prime Minister, Kevin, to fast-track her citizenship application.
Well, just for full disclosure, I have an Irish passport. I too am an Irish citizen. I'm very proud of it. My father was an O'Leary. Back to Bernie Sanders for a second, though. I got to share some data with you might find fascinating. We buy a lot of digital ads across our operating companies. So every Tuesday, we get the engagement tear sheets. And we see what's trending and why. There are 3 politicians that beat every other in this country, and they're masterful at it. AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren. They are the best marketers of any. Listen, I don't agree with any of their policies, but what they do is they say outrageous things. They get network coverage. They take the content, they repost it with their message, and they drive engagement, and $5 and $10 and $20 and $25 at a time come roaring in. They are geniuses at what they do. We should all learn. You don't have to love them, but Elizabeth Warren, she's killing it right now. Unbelievable what she's getting in engagement.
Bernie isn't president. He couldn't get there.
Yeah, it didn't work for him then, but I'm just telling you, he knows what to say and how to make people crazy.
They know how to market, but they don't know how to sell it in the political landscape. That is for sure.